I'm not sure I've ever saw this one before. This is actually a police chase going on here. Officers of Bucks County hot in the trail of an emu. They're kind of fun to watch run. It's kind of therapeutic. The big bird escaped from Snipes Farm and Education Center yesterday. That's in Morrisville. It took a while, but police eventually caught the emu, returned it to the farm. We're told the bird's doing just fine. And I got a little cardio in. That's good for the bird. All right, so have you seen...
But that's the question. Is anybody going to believe anything that comes out of the FBI unless they start seeing James Comey arrested? I mean, that doesn't come from the FBI, but are they going to have faith in the absence of any concrete, decisive action? And this is one where, like, maybe I'm not sure. I don't. This is where clarify who has the authority to charge James Comey. The FBI.
The DOJ. The DOJ. Right.
Some people do suggest that it might be Secret Service. The FBI does have charging powers. Bottom line, we know they broke the law. James Comey's latest 8647 stunt being one of them, where he even in his book expresses the mens rea of the act that he denies having done. Charge him. When people start seeing the bigwigs getting charged, the McCabe's not getting paid but getting charged, and people going to jail or at least facing charges instead of what we see to be consistent continued cover-ups, like with the P. Diddy trial, which I believe is a cover-up in and of itself, the faith will be restored. Until then, you know, admittedly, Bongino and Patel are in an impossible situation where it's going to be impossible to satisfy all of the concerns. And some people are going to say reopening the Koch investigation and the Dobbs leak, nobody cares about. The Dobbs might be more relevant in that if it leads to an impeachment of a biased judge, it might have some political use at the end of the day. The cocaine case could care less about, but January 6th pipe bombers, we need to see concrete results and arrests and exposure of the corruption that we know is there. And that's what people are, begging for from Bongino and Patel. And hopefully we get it sooner than later, because people are fickle and their patience is thin. But I don't think they understand the monumental Pandora's box of corruption and decay that Bongino and Patel have walked into at the FBI.
Arresting Comey would do so much. It really would. And Comey walked himself right into it. Nobody forced him to do that. Saying, hey, we have the shells. DNA of James Comey is on the shells. James Comey clearly set up this message. He did it. He blamed his wife. He lied then to the public. He lied under oath. And we're going to charge him. And Absolutely. This would be the most important. That would be such a pressure release valve for people in this country who've been following this.
And by the way, I have no doubt that he also deleted and probably obstructed if there is an investigation going on with him. And for anybody saying Viva's, the Canadian schnook who doesn't respect First Amendment rights, you can't threaten people. And for people to say, oh, it's not really a threat. Comey knew that it was a threat because his stupid book, which is called FDR Drive, is about a far-right extremist who pushes the limits of First Amendment protections to name his political rivals and call for something to be done to them, and his fans do, causing violence and killing their political rivals. That was his post after the 86-47.
Wow.
So nobody's going to tell me he didn't know what he was doing and that he lacked the mens rea and it's going to be a difficult case to build. I built the case. You can charge him now. Let him get acquitted at the end of the day after we discover whether or not he actually deleted any evidence off his phone of him setting up those shells that he happened to stumble across and throwing his wife under the bus. The man is the scum of the earth, and he needs to be charged yesterday, because if they are investigating the copycat threats that are resulting from this, you go after the big dog for the copycat threats, and you'll find a lot less copycat threats when you go after the big dog for his dog whistle.
The reason why we took this so very seriously, and if it was a grandmother from Youngstown, Ohio, it would be different, but James Comey clearly has splinter cells, black ops groups, people who owe him favors, people that are allowed to carry badges and guns around Donald Trump. This is a deeply serious threat. This is a deep operator inside of the deep state. This guy will probably for the rest of his life be able to have crack teams in Secret Service and an FBI that owe him favors because he's done 30 years there, that he's helped covered up their crimes or back and forth. And so when he's calling for an assassination of Donald Trump, like this, you have to take that deadly seriously.
People try to pull up old posts of other people from the internet and say, look what they said. They said 86-46. First of all, I do say you're faffoing when you do that, even when it's with Biden. But the people that had done that in the past, it was quite clearly a reference throwback to Gretchen Whitmer, who put 86-45 out there. And so tongue in cheek, crap posting on Twitter, it's ill-advised. But it's not the same thing as the former director of the FBI posting it after a picture of him reading his book and before a picture of him summarizing what his book is about, naming his political rivals and calling for something to be done to them. The mens rea is there. The actus reus is there. There's probable cause. Charge him. Let him defend himself on free speech rights.
Because you brought up Diddy, final question here. Why is James Comey's daughter allowed to continue a trial against, well, Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, Diddy? Like, what exactly is going on here? There are no coincidences in life?
There's no good excuse for it. Period. Maybe the argument is you can't fire her. Some people were hypothesizing that James Comey's 86-47 stunt was to make his daughter fireproof, because if they fired her then, it would look like retaliation. The bottom line, I don't know Bondi. I don't know her personally. I didn't have any preemptive faith in her because I didn't know her like I knew Bongino and what I know of Patel. It's inexcusable. There's no good excuse for it, period. That you have Maureen Comey, James Comey's daughter, working on the Diddy file. And from what I understand, not necessarily running the best prosecution ever. The prosecution that they're running, limited to 2 defendants, his sex trafficking. Again, it's like Epstein only sex trafficked for his own personal pleasure. The cameras that were set up in Diddy Mansion apparently were only for his own sex video freak-offs, for his own personal satisfaction. Horse crap. She should not be on that case anymore. It's corruption to the core, and it's inaction like that that will cause a lot of people to distrust the Bondi and the current administration, because there's no good excuse for it that I know of.
Right. Why would you allow Lee Harvey Oswald's kid to work in the next Kennedy administration? Why would you let John Hinckley work for Ronald Reagan? I don't, it doesn't make any sense. It makes zero sense. Why would Donald Trump hire Matthew Thomas Crooks's, sibling or father?
The argument's going to be, it's that it's the past administration. She has a job. Maybe there's some rules for dismissal. But the bottom line is, you cannot have the Trump administration pursuing Biden-era policies or Biden-era personnel on key issues. And this is one of them. I have yet to see a good excuse for why she's still prosecuting Diddy. And my running theory is that the prosecution of Diddy is the cover-up itself, because he'll get convicted on crossing state lines with a prostitute or something. He'll go to jail for 10 years. It wraps up nice and clean, much like Ghislaine Maxwell. And lo and behold, we've got a blackmail, sex extortion, sex trafficking ring, and it was only for Diddy's personal satisfaction. I believe that as far as I can throw Thor's hammer.
So it's a cover-up for the deep state. It's a cover-up for an intel op.
That is my current opinion. I am open to being convinced otherwise, but it looks and smells like a persistent cover-up.